We're absolutely delighted about Airbnb coming back to the space. They already were in it, from 2015, and then decided to shut down their business during the pandemic. And I think it's such a big confirmation for the experiences economy and the experiences market that they decided to go back in. Look, it's a $400 billion market a year. So people at this point in time are purchasing experiences over physical goods. Particularly the young generation is going out there and they see experiences as the most important thing when they travel. It's one of the biggest items in the overall travel basket. And it is an industry that's barely digitized. So it's really 70% of the small, medium-sized businesses offering the sightseeing tours and the day trips and the excursions that are still offline. And it's just fantastic to see more and more of the important travel companies recognizing the trend and bringing that industry online.
Johannes, it does suggest a subtle shift in the way consumers are spending from simply just booking flights and booking nice accommodation to wanting that experience, because the TUI numbers this week suggested that, look, summer bookings are not flowing as readily as they had in the past around those COVID trends. What does this mean, though, in terms of consolidation in your sector? Because if the big players are not seeing the same profitability and growth and they're coming after your space, it reminds me a little bit of the fast food consolidation we've seen in that platform. Are you going to be consolidated?
Well, look, I think, we're just in the early innings of redefining the travel industry. Travel industry has been unbundled for the last 2 decades. And you've seen first, people booking flights independently, booking hotels independently, vacation rental, and now experiences is really the next chapter. But at the end of the day, when you travel, it's not about where you stay or, which airline you take. It's really what you do and how you feel when you travel. That's really what the young people want to do. That's what you can see on Instagram. That's what you can see on TikTok. And that's exactly the service that we are offering. Get Your Guide is the #1 downloaded app in the experiences sector. We have more than 250 million people having used our product. So I don't think that, we have to be consolidated. I think we're actually leading in the space.
Yeah, it's great you're coming to us from Berlin. I just come back from Berlin where I did a little run, and my goodness me, I love the boat tour. Just putting that on the record. Meanwhile, Johannes, China, more sensibly. The Chinese tourist it went away, and then post-COVID, it's back in really big fashion. 155 million Chinese tourists, we think, this year overseas as well. China, domestically and internationally, is this where the X factor is going to be?
No, look, we at Get Your Guide are seeing that experiences are recession-proof. So it's nothing where we see that there's a slowdown or a pullback. This year we'll have more people on Get Your Guide experiences than any other year before. Get Your Guide at this point in time is 5 times the size of pre-pandemic. So this gives you an idea of the meteoric growth that we've seen in the industry. The Chinese coming to Europe is an absolute boon because at the end of the day, Get Your Guide in particular has the largest offering of the major public attractions at the major points of interest, such as, the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower, etc. We have more than 50% of that type of inventory where we have direct relationships with, so more than any other competitor in our market. And ultimately, that's particularly what the Chinese visitor wants to see. So this is another tailwind. But it comes on top of what is already a very robust travel trend that we see in our business for this summer.
Can I ask a really dumb question? How are you making your money? Are you clipping the ticket on the experiences?
Yeah, totally. You just mentioned the Spree River cruise here in Berlin. So let's say that's a ticket of 30 euros a person. Depending on how long the cruise is, there are multiple options. And then people purchase and they pay Get Your Guide. We take a commission for the marketing and the transaction services that we provide to the local supply partner, and then ultimately we transfer them after the conduction of the experience, the proceeds, net the commission.
So that's great, and thank you for that experience. Thanks for the experience in Berlin. If I booked it through you, I don't know if I did, but thank you for the answer. Are you profitable, Johannes, or is it just vicious competition, or you're in what a lot of younger companies say to me is that you're in the growth phase?
We're definitely still in the growth phase, but we actually publicly announced that we're profitable last year, and we will be profitable for this full year. So we are funding our own growth. We are no longer at the mercy of any venture capitalist or anything like that. So ultimately, it's a very profitable business in its core. And what we're currently doing is from the very profitable markets that we have, we're reinvesting in growth into the growth markets, such as, for instance, the United States.
Johannes, clearly, based on what you've said and the fact that Airbnb is pushing into the experiences world, this is a huge trend in the travel space. People spending more money on experiences. But the downside to booking experiences is that you lose that spontaneous feel that comes with travel, getting lost in a city and discovering things for yourself. Is there a risk that over the medium term, we start to see curation fatigue among travelers?
No, I think the inverse is true. Because at the end of the day, what you just described as just wandering around the city, that's precisely the problem of over-tourism that we have today. If you wander around Florence or if you wander around Barcelona in the midst of the summer, you will just queue up at attractions. And we've seen that this is really destroying the local neighborhood. So ultimately, you have to have some sort of crowd management system. That is the experience economy in its essence. And what we help do is actually rather distribute the visitors and help them discover new things that they hadn't thought of before. So only 30% of our business roughly is these pop sites. 70% is actually small to medium-sized businesses, local operators, people who bring new creative ideas into the tourism industry. And that's exactly where we see the growth of the business, by the way. So it's actually rather getting people away from these major sites and getting them to new things and actually creating that sense of wonder that you were talking about that you no longer get by just walking around.
You're